Hello, everybody. Happy Monday, and uh, it's Kane here, uh, also known as the Aryan Corporation. And I've had a good weekend so far. I've learned a lot of things, just interacting with several people in the city I hang out in. Um, so I guess today's topic will be knowing your worth as a individual male who is of high status, um, regardless of your circumstances in life. Um, and just from this kind of experience, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but this weekend has been a full moon lunar eclipse. So some energies are supposed to be aligned with people right now, and self growth and spiritual growth. Um, so I thought that was interesting. Um, I'll go into more details about that later on in this video. But yeah, knowing that you're worthy more than what people think you are, um, is what I want to talk about. What do I mean by that? Well, there's lots of things. It's you as a male that's improving every day of your life in every aspect, um, whether that be your habits, your health, your mental health. Um, those are some things I can state, um, as well as gaining some more intelligence and knowledge behind human experiences in social interactions with individuals who experience these same circumstances that you do, um, and learn about people's stories, because that's what I find interesting as somebody who studied psychology in college, um, is understanding people's behaviors on perception and um, personal opinions on their life experiences. Um, Granted, I've talked to a lot of good people in this city who who I've learned a lot from, that go through the same thing as I do, which as some as a male who's taken care of himself for several years and trying to improve his own life, between his finances, his career, his personal health, um, staying in physical shape, as well as being mentally strong, um, in terms of emotions and the psychological aspect of things. Um, and what I've came to realize with these interactions is, um, the main one is focusing on yourself, and I was just talking about that for the past few minutes. Um, but it's also not going out looking for validation from other people. Because as I mentioned from the first video, I believe, or it was the second video, that you can try to impress everybody that you want to, that you may think they care, when in reality they don't, in reality, they don't even like themselves for who they are as an individual being. As crazy as that sounds. Let me just take a sip of this reverse osmosis water real quick. It's supposed to be healthy for you, but um, so taking care of yourself is very important as a high status male individual, regardless of your finances, your health, what you do. It all starts with the mindset. That's really what it comes down to. Knowing that you're worthy of all these things. Forget having $1 billion in the bank. Forget having a excuse me. Forget having these nice expensive cars, the gated community house you've always wanted to live in. Forget all that, because I grew up around that, and that's really not what life is about. If I'm being honest with you, there's more to life than that. Um, well, what I've realized is there's a big trend going on right now with social media, YouTube, Twitch, any social platform, networking center, um, is there's some things I've noticed. Don't know how many things it'll come in my mind, but the first thing I've noticed is for some reason people tend to think that having status and recognition by people is their number one priority because it makes them feel validated by other people. Um, and they do it just because of the fact that they're not doing it to make themselves feel happy. They're doing it more so to mask their emotions and get attention. And that's one thing about the human psychology of people is we like being recognized and getting attention. Um, Women especially want as much attention as possible and want to surround themselves with people who have that kind of lifestyle, um, whether they be popular, famous, wealthy, and know a lot of connections. That's just something I've experienced in this city I hang it out in a lot. Um, it's a very well-known city. Let me just get another sip of this refreshing water. Back to what I was saying though, a little earlier, what I was talking about, is knowing your worth. People tend to think that it's about their relationships, that it's about having all these nice things. But the question is, does it make you happy? Or are you just relying on these things to make you happy when you're still in the end of being miserable? Granted, because I've experienced it myself. I've had women that I've dated. Although I was pretty happy in my relationship, That's a hard one to grasp around, but I guess just connections with women that I've had, like a thing, I guess you call it. I mean, yeah, sometimes it'll make you happy in the present moment, but dealing with their emotions and their traumas from their past experiences can sometimes make things more difficult, if that makes sense. Just pausing for a moment of silence. But the key thing is my message I want to get across for men out there struggling, can't find a girlfriend or a future wife, is the number one key thing is to make yourself happy. Don't rely on other women to make you happy, for validation, to boost your confidence levels. Because at the end of the day, it all starts with yourself. Um, Because granted, though, even though when I did not date a woman, I was still powerlifting professionally, and um, just focused on myself the entire time I've been lifting since I was 14, 13, 14 years old, and since high school. Um, I get told a lot that it's an ego thing, but the question is it? Sometimes I think about it, and like, you could put it that way, but really, I've only done it for health as well as being physically strong. Um, because I'd always been told I was weak freshman year in high school by an individual who I still know his name. And by the way, if you're watching this, just know not to bully people because uh, it's not okay. But I've done it to work on myself, to improve a better version of myself, to track and record my personal journey on improving on life. That's one aspect of it, which is physical health, as well as the mental side. It takes a mentally strong person to dedicate himself to something when some days I don't even feel like going to the gym because, you know, emotions kick in, or I'm not feeling well, I'm tired from work. It gets that discipline in, and you get the job done. Um, just another moment of silence. It's still kind of a full moon, so these energy levels are kind of um, interesting. This individual who I talked to, and the funny thing is, I actually ran into him over the weekend in this city that I go to all the time. And funny enough, I run into him at the bench that I was sitting at, And we're talking about the same issues every time we hang out or talk or interact. And he had the same experiences I've had, being single for a long time. And, he's a great guy. He's got a lot going for himself. Um, One thing I've noticed from him is not to not to care what people think. And the funny thing is, he mentioned a book that I should read. Um, and he pulls it out, and I see the book, and the crazy part is I was currently reading it before you even mentioned it, and I had the book right here. It's called, I don't know if you can see it, Love Life by Matthew Hussey. Sorry if I pronounced her last name wrong, but this book talks about a lot of good things about finding your actual partner. Um, the aspects of being single can be difficult, and he talks about how karma is a real thing too, about how people how if your exes screwed you over, and eventually it goes tenfold towards the other person. Granted, though, I don't wish anything bad upon anybody, because I feel like everybody should have a good life. But I'm reading this book, and apparently he's coached a lot of people, not just men, but also women, in terms of relationships. And in the book, page 5, I thought this was interesting. Yeah. He states, people are so often defined by the things they want, the drives they have, and everything they're determined to accomplish. But we are also shaped by the things we reject. And that's where I've come with what I've noticed with rejection. I even do it myself, that I feel that I'm not worthy of anything. And this individual who I talk to on the bench and hang out with, socialize, was mentioning, like, stop worrying about the rejections. You're worthy more than these women who don't know what they want. And a lot of people tell me this, like, you have to find the right partner. Not everybody's gonna connect together in all aspects of life areas. You have to have a balance. Granted, though, there is that perfect person for everybody in this universe as we speak. It's just at the right time, at the right place, at the right setting. Um, but yeah, I haven't gotten too far in this book yet, but I definitely do recommend this book to any male who's trying to improve his own life and find that right person, because this book will change your life. Um, there's other books who I've been recommended by another individual who's very very well informed on um, the psychology and um, um, human nature aspects of the dating culture and self-improvement and self-growth on what a male should do versus what we shouldn't worry about. But that is one of the main things I had noticed, is knowing that you're worthy more than these women, more than what these people think about you. You know, people think, oh, you got to be a multi-billionaire, own a business, go to college, work like a slave for the rest of your life, pretty much. But in reality, you have it all. Because in this universe, we're in a simulation. Our brain is like a computer. It's programmed, it's coded. You can program it yourself with the information you feed yourself with the information you retain and inform yourself with, I guess. Um, Also on the words you speak, because word is power, um, along with your actions too. But you know, if you intake positive things and learn from it, like reading, like reading, journaling, and I'm not talking about just normal journaling, like oh my day sucks. Uh, let's write about all the negative things about my day. No, you that you want with journaling, you want to write everything positive. So whether that be, I had a great day at work. Here are some things. I had a good day at work, but don't talk about, now here's the bad things, because that contradicts taking in good information, or good thoughts. Because as soon as you release those uh, negative thoughts into the universe, you attract more to it. Like attracts like. Um, it's like positives attract the negatives. Quantum physics is everything, and you know, I do research it a little bit, and everything is relative. So, um, it's very important that you be careful what you speak on, who you surround yourself with, the things you do, the information you take, the things you watch, the music you listen to. I can't stress this enough, but music is like, in Islamic cultures, music is technically considered a sin because of the fact that it's a form of demonism, as I speak. Um, you know, when I was younger, I never had the desire to listen to any music at all, which I thought was interesting. In fact, I always had enjoyed just being alone and quiet, enjoying the quietness. I didn't like overstimulation of music. And, you know, that changed as I got into high school. Due to culture, you just got to be careful with what the music you listen to, because a lot of it has bad messages and negative, and it circles back to negative thoughts and vibrational frequencies. That's why if you listen to music, I do suggest listening to like instrumentals or things like that. I'd try to stay away from the rap music. Granted, I know rap music can be good, but the message they put out there is it's not what you want to intake with your brain. Like I mentioned, it's a computer. You listen to that rap music, you listen to hip hop, where they talk about, sex, drugs, money used for wrong reasons. Um, a lot of musicians talk about that. And it's not just rap, it's the whole spectrum. But yeah, even like I was mentioning, so you want to take the positives and not focus on the negatives, because the more you focus on the negative, the more you're going to attract that and put it out in the universe. It doesn't matter if I'm all 90% of the time I'm positive, and then 10% of the time I'm negative. If you put out any negativity, you're gonna put out in that universe negativity, and that it's gonna shield right back at you. And so just changing your perspective on things, on not being negative, has taught me something. A very valuable lesson, that energy is everything. Um, our brains are uh, wave frequencies. It's like a radio channeling. Um, Essentially, is what it is. And everybody has a different vibrational frequency. You don't even have to talk to somebody to pick up on that. You could be standing next to somebody and get a weird. That's why they call the word vibe, because it's a vibrational frequency. You know right off the bat if something's up. Um, but yeah, as I was mentioning earlier, you want to you just want to surround yourself with positive thoughts, vibrations, frequencies. Because in the long run of things, it's going to make yourself a better version of yourself than holding on to that negativity all the time. Granted, though, it is okay to release. Like if you keep everything internally, and you're holding on to those negative thoughts. Granted, though, in human psychology, it's so we get negative thoughts all the time. It just, we think of 400 things in a second. Our brains just are wired that way. But if, it's always, that's why I recommended talking to a therapist or a doctor or both, because it allows you to open up. But they're not going to, the thing with therapists and doctors, they're not going to be like, oh, that's horrible, They're not gonna be like, I don't know how to describe it. They basically analyze everything. It's called psychoanalysis, psychoanalyzing, and it's where, let me look it up. So I learned this in psychology. Give me a second, guys. I guess just digging into the unconscious, just from what I'm reading on ChatGPT, but um, like a psychiatrist will psychoanalyze you, or a therapist, um, noticing that you keep experiencing depression, and so they'll ask questions more about your feelings and thoughts, and then from there they basically uncover reasons on why you're depressed, and kind of recommendations on how to fix that. It all starts with improving yourself and changing your life habits, um, your thought patterns, things like that. But yeah. But yeah, strongly I do advise speaking with a therapist or a doctor, because they do help in the grand scheme of things, um, for your mental health, as well as getting another perspective from professionals who know how to make your life better in all areas of your life. Their main focus is to change your behaviors, um, so you can have a better outcome on things. Because your behaviors is what causes illness. Like take drinking for example. You drink every day. What do you think that's doing to your physical body? On top of that, your brain cells. On top of that, your psychological well-being, or mental well-being. It does a lot. Also, it's a spirit, so it puts you into the spirit realm, which is why I don't drink. Granted, though, I do smoke cigarettes, um, but it's more of a spiritual grounding thing. It allows me to think about things. Um, Granted, though, I'm trying to quit. It's just we tend to cope with a lot of things on our own, whether that be alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, or cannabis, CBD. These substances that we use is a coping mechanism to allow us to be emotional and think about our thoughts. So, yeah, it all starts with what you actually do. Because you can say, oh, I'm going to quit drinking, and then you're still drinking, to where it becomes a problem. You get a DUI one day, and you didn't think it'd be an issue. And now look at the rabbit hole that you put yourself in, having one drink of beer and then leaving the bar, and say you forgot to turn on your turn signal or your lights out. Cop pulls you over, asks, have you been drinking? No. Oh, I smell alcohol in your breath. And at that point, it's like, at that point, you're just like, what the hell am I doing? Yeah, so pretty much just don't do things that is gonna put you at risk. Um, but then again, what I'm saying is change those habits. Know you're worthy. Our brains are computers. You create your own reality. You don't need the money, the fame, any of this validation from people because you already know. You already know yourself. And essentially, we are all extensions of the creator of the universe, which is yourself. God is not a man, nor is he a nor nor is God a woman. He could be, but what God is in Islamic terms is you can't see him. Therefore, it's everything in life of its creation, I should say. Therefore, I'm a creator of my own reality. We're basically all extensions of the creator experiencing a mirror effect of ourselves. So any interaction you have with somebody is that other person is actually speaking to yourself, if that makes sense. Now I know that's going to sound a little odd, but it's true. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, I'm looking up something. I can't find it, but essentially, it's like God tuning into a channeling, like a radio channel, or a frequency, I should say, more so this makes sense, is that so I had to pause for a moment. I just had this very interesting thought. It's like God channeling through another person you're interacting with, but it's like it's through you. Um, it's hard to describe, but if you ever, it's interesting. I'll have to go into another topic about that because I'm not sure. Like, have you ever experienced deja vu? How you go to work every day, how you feel you've been at this place before in another lifetime. You're going to the same places, you're talking to the same people, and you run in, and people run into the same people you're talking to about the same subject. Which is where the multiverse theory comes into place with quantum physics, that there are parallel realities of ourselves with the same interactions, the same places, the same time, different areas, all happening at once. you could be a lot of different things, and still get these deja vu experiences, which I experience every day in my life. And they say deja vu, when you experience it, is a enlightenment spiritual gift of awakening, that you do realize that um, that everything is, it's your creation. Now, you may ask, why is there a such thing as thoughts and pain and suffering and traumas and anxiety and paranoia and all these emotions? That's a tough one. We've decided to come on this journey as a physical form to experience being in physical form with a brain that is so complex, not even neurologists or psychiatrists can figure out. Still, to this day, on how it, it works, it's so unpredictable. Um, we've decided to experience the spiritual aspect of being a physical human for self growth. And like I was mentioning, it's to better yourself wherever you may go. Whether if you want to come back to this universe or not, experience the same things as you've experienced in the past, or to move on to the next dimensions, parallel realities, etc. And I will say it's been a little struggle with this kind of experience, but the more I experience life every day and try to enjoy the present moment on finding who I am and all these great things about myself that other people notice about me too. Of, of having Asperger's, which is on the autism spectrum, that is a gift. A lot of people tend to think that having a mental illness or ADHD or whatever you want to call it, autism, it's a spiritual gift that not a lot of people have. The people that came into this universe as neurotypical people don't experience the same kind of emotions, the same spiritual aspect of things as people who are neurodivergent or that have mental illness. It takes a strong person to come into this universe when it's already like a lot of stuff going on that's doesn't have good intentions, but experiencing that, and we all chose how we wanted to be born into this universe. We all choose different experiences in our past lives, and maybe one day you were a billionaire in your past. Maybe you always had been, and or maybe you'd been a doctor or a lawyer, a judge, all these things, and you just want to continue to experience different perspectives. Because maybe you got bored of doing that. So, you know, one thing is just know you are everything of this universe. You are the billionaire. You are the high status male. You have the confidence. You know what you're worth. And you don't need physical things to label yourself. You don't need women. You don't need money. You don't need a business. You don't need all these expensive things. You don't need materialism. You don't need. Because none of that exists when, you know, you do pass away. But you just experience it again and again and again and again until you perfect everything. Now I always get asked, is there an afterlife, or what the hell? What the hell are we in? What, like, why is there so much shit? Well, the answer to that is Allah has sent us, which is God in Islam, but He sent us here in this universe to experience the physical form of a being, to learn things. You keep reincarnating over and over and over till you get it right, till you connect with your inner God, which is yourself. Because Allah, or God, is not a human or female. It's everything. And until you get it right with yourself first, then the school is done. Then you're rewarded with whatever you desired in the so-called afterlife, which is what they call heaven. But essentially we are in the afterlife, but it's the afterlife of school. It's a spiritual school where you improve yourself to the fullest potential. I'm gonna have to wrap up this video for tonight in just a couple minutes. But my message I wanted to get to you folks is, and this can be for women too, but my audience is towards men that are struggling, because I've been there and I understand. But please do some meditations, journal, write books, read books, watch podcasts, do podcasting, give it a try. This is my third podcast, and the first few, okay, I could have gotten a little bit negative, but I came to realize a lot of these people who do podcast and are on the enlightenment side of things and intelligence that you don't see most people have these days. There is one thing they have, and that's knowing they know their worth, along with staying positive. If that's the key takeaway from this video, it would be to be positive and know you have a bright future ahead of yourself. And in the present moment too, you're already successful. You don't need a college degree to label you. You don't need women to validate you. You don't need people to validate you. You don't need these materialistic things that do not exist when you die, because it doesn't define you. You could have all the nice things of the world, you could have all the women in the universe, and yet you could be the most depressing, not so nice, miserable individual. Just know there's always somebody who has it worse. I would love to trade places with you because they're like, wow, this person has a perfect life, when in reality you don't think that when you do. You are the 1%, the 0.01%. I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, if you've watched this video fully. And I hope you learned something from it. And just one thing, don't give up on life. Life is supposed to be a gift. You're supposed to embrace it all. And, you know, one thing I do suggest is, for any men out there that are struggling a lot right now, is to find some hobbies. It could be reading. It could be the most boring hobby. Oh, arts and crafts. Granted, I've done that sometimes, but I could never get into it. But anyways, like I like chess, and I'm very good at chess. And life is like chess, which is why I love it. The one game I can't understand is checkers. It just, I don't know. Chess just makes more sense to me. But basically, life is like a game of chess. But as I was mentioning, go find your hobbies. Which I should probably get into a chess club here pretty soon, because I've been told that by a lot of people. Or golf. Apparently people told me I have pretty good potential in that, so yeah. Even I myself am working on improving myself, but enjoying more hobbies that interest me. But so far I'm just gaining a lot of knowledge in terms of helping other people. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to comment on your thoughts. And like it. You could subscribe. I'm not asking you to. And take one thing you've learned from this video and this experience and apply it. That's what I've done with quite a few, quite the interactions I've had with people, all the time, and then I try to learn something new every day. As far as that goes, I hope you have a good rest of your night or day, whatever time you're watching this at. And just know you're worthy of everything you desire, you wanted. And to not give up, to stay strong, and focus on yourself. Thank you for tuning in to the Aryan Corporation. Signing out, and you have a good one. Thank you.